Welcome to Option Trades today. I'm Tony the Bat Batiste, and I've got one trade for you today, but I'm going to show you 3 different variations of that trade. But let's take a look at what the market's doing first. Even the S&Ps, let's take a look, are unchanged right now, up 25 cents. I'm just going to click right here on the charts. NASDAQ is up 42. Russell is down 5, and the Dow is down 114. This has been a little bit of a common theme over the last couple of days. The Russell and the Dow has been weak. The NASDAQ and the E-mini S&Ps have been stronger relative. I don't think it means anything, but it is interesting to look at and watch from a trading perspective. Volatility in by 10 cents. You can see volatility has had a nice almost dollar range. Let's just call it 90-cent range. It's unchanged right now, trading around mid-price, down 10 cents on volatility. Volatility has come in over the last 3 days. You could see here on the right-hand side, I think a lot of your short premium trades should be working out well. And one of those trades that worked out well for me earlier today, a trade I did from August 10th, just 12 days ago, was AMD prior to earnings. Now, AMD, or immediately following earnings, AMD volatility has stayed bid over the last couple of days. You can see right here from this green and red line after earnings. We'll go over here to take a look at our watch list. I have high option volume here, and I'm going to just have, if I have AMD up here and AMD is one of the stocks in here, I could certainly put it in alphabetical order by clicking on the symbols, but I like to just scroll down and see where my line shows up here. And you can see over the last 5 days, AMD volatility is up ever so slightly, but not lower after already having had earnings. AMD down around $1.99. The trade I'm going to look at, you could probably get filled better than I got filled, because I think AMD was only down around $1.90, $1.85 when I placed this trade. The IV rank is good at 28%, and the IVX index at 48 is pretty good too. That's what you're looking at here on AMD. Is right here, this number right there. That's just the monthly implied volatility. I'm going to go into October with 59 days to go. Why am I going to go into October? Well, we like to place trades closest to 45 days, and we roll trades or close trades or adjust trades with 24 days to go. Now, let's take a look at the trade I'm going to do in October. I promise you I'm going to show you 3 different ways for 3 different buying powers that you put on in your account. The first thing I'm going to do is the trade that I did. I bought the 100 puts 1 time, and I sold the 95 puts 2 times. I got a decent credit of $1.26, I believe. We can look at that in just a minute. But $1.26, and in a margin account, it uses just under $1,200. I want you to remember that number, $1,200, because I'm going to come back to that in just a second. The probability of profit, 82%. I like to have those high pop trades. My delta here is 14 long. So if you're not slightly bullish on AMD, neutral to bullish, omnidirectional, in AMD, then this is not the trade for you. It is a trade for me because I'm omnidirectional, delta neutral, possibly leaning a little bit long in AMD. It has a positive 4 theta decay, meaning I get to collect $4 a day in theta decay for taking on that risk. What is that risk? Around $1,100 or just under $1,200 in risk. When you beta weight it to the S&P 500, it's just about 50% of what the S&P 500 delta would be. The correlation in AMD, as you would expect, is 0.49, just about 50% of what the S&P is. So that means every other time the market goes higher, AMD goes higher, and vice versa. All right, what are the other trades that we can look at here? I'm inspired by a caller who called in today, and we do calls every day, well, most days, on Tasty Live at around 9:30 Central Standard Time. If you want to call in, we'd love to hear from you. That number is 855-238-2789 or 855-BE-TASTY. We answer all your questions live. We don't screen the phone calls, so we'd love to hear from you. All right, so we're looking at $1,200. If you were in a IRA account, and that's what the caller was talking about, he's in an IRA account, this number would be closer to $9,500. So you'd be using $9,500 in buying power on this trade. And you know what? If you only have a $10,000 account or a $20,000 account, that's way too much buying power to be using in a trade. So what are some things you can do? Well, if you're using $9,000 in buying power, I like to try to keep my buying power closer to what it would be simulated if it was a margin account. So if I go in and just use $13 or $14 of my credit that I'm receiving here and buy these 65 puts, you'll notice that my buying power didn't change on here. I'm using the same, $12, $13, $1,400 in buying power in a margin in an IRA account that I would have been using had I been in a margin account. So what I'm simulating here is you're in an IRA account, you're using $9,000 in buying power, too much buying power for a trade like this. If you simply go out and buy the 65 puts, you'll be using the same amount of buying power you would be using approximately in a margin account. What's another thing that you can do here? So we've got the ratio spread. You can certainly do that in an IRA account. It uses more buying power. You can simulate the ratio spread by buying the 65 puts in a IRA account, or even just using less buying power in some other account that you might want to do. Maybe you want to do 2 contracts instead of 1 contract that you would use if you were using undefined risk and you feel more comfortable having defined risk or using less buying power that way. What's another thing you could do? Well, another thing you could do is keep the same buying 100 put, selling 295 puts, change that to 395 puts, and then buy 2 90 puts. Let me change this for you, sorry. By highlighting this, it'll just make the 90 puts trade. Buying 2 of the 90 puts. So then let's look at what we're doing here. It's a defined risk trade. Obviously, I'm using significantly less buying power, $440 in buying power instead of the $1,200 in buying power I was using a moment ago, or the $9,000 you'd be using in IRA account. Yes, I'm collecting less credit, 62 cents mid-price, but I have defined risk. I'm long the 195 put spread one time, and I'm financing that, or the risk that I have here is I'm short 2 of the 95 90 put spreads. So if the stock goes to 95, I make at expiration, I make $5 plus the credit I received, just like the ratio spread. That's why we call it omnidirectional. If the stock goes to 0, well, this 95 100 put spread would be worth $5. I have that on one time. And then I'm short 2 of the 90 95 put spreads. That would be worth $1,000. My risk would be about $500 minus the credit I receive, which gives you that $438. So I have $438 in risk to make $500. That's unreasonable. I'm just looking to get my credit that I sold this for 64 cents. Or if I'm doing it 1 by 2, my ratio spread that I originally showed you, which I did for around $1.26, I'm just looking to make $1.80, something like that on my risk. Now, why did I go back into AMD? Well, I went back into AMD because if you click on these lines again and go down to the follow page, and you have me up here, I already put AMD up there. You can see in AMD, it's treated me well. I had a strangle on here on 810 that had a little bit of long deltas. The very next day, the stock went lower. You could see it went from 111 to 107, and I had to roll down those calls. I rolled them down for 75 cents. It's never a good thing when you're rolling down the untested side the very next day of a trade, but I was able to take that off today for a nice buck profit or so. So I said to myself, hey, I liked the stock when it was 111. It's gone down to around 106 and change. It's a little bit lower right now. You could put this on at a better price than I did. I said, why not put a classic ratio spread on, omnidirectional, and show the audience how you can make this trade 3 different ways. It's almost like ordering food, 3 different ways. Well, you know what? I need you to do one thing. I need you to open up an account, bring an account, transfer an account. I'm not afraid to ask. Help me keep the lights on here and bring your account to Tasty Trade. Go to tastytrade.com, fill out all the information there, and you know what? We even got some great perks. Take a look at those for bringing your account over. I think we give cash money.